on? We are back for another In the Sheds. I'm very excited for this episode. We've got an AFL guest and it's going to be a ripper discussion. We've never had an AFL guest on before, as you guys know. Last week, we had Jesse Parahi from the Australian Sevens. That was a ripper chat, ripper discussion there. But tonight we've got a massive guest. We're going to give him a bit of a wrap after we introduce the two big boys, obviously Shirls and Entertain House. How we doing, boys?
Thanks, big fella. Another day, another podcast.
Oh, it's funny.
And you look like you're about 20 meters away from the camera. What's going on? You're camera shy.
He's got to be camera.
You, mate.
Me?
Yeah, move on in, mate.
Yeah. So anyway, boys, let's get into the chat because, like I said, I'm very excited for this chat today with this AFL guest. Marcus Bontempelli. Gee whiz, you're an idiot. You're buddy. Get off here. Don't ever talk. Can we hang up on Hayden? Can we hang up the Skype call on Hayden? Where's the hang up call? All right, guys, let's get straight into it. So today we're going to be welcoming our first ever AFL guest to the Sheds, and I can tell you right now, it's an absolute beauty. The big man calls Adelaide home, more specifically the port half of the city, whilst having previously played for the Gold Coast Suns in his early days. Kicking the club's first ever goal in the process, he's also gone on to kick over 200 of those to date through 135 games. It's none other than the big power forward, and yes, I am saying pun intended, the big power forward, Charlie Dixon. Son, let's give him a big welcome.
Charlie.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Good to have you on. How you feeling being the first ever AFL guest on the Sheds?
Yeah, no, pretty good. I'm just excited to sort of get into it, I suppose.
Send you the trophy soon, mate.
Yeah, what do I get?
Gold star, maybe. No, we'll sort out a medal for you or something.
I don't know, an exclusive VIP access to the Sheds. How about that? The exclusive VIP access.
JB Hi-Fi gift card. And the dinner with Koshi.
Now, Charlie, dinner with Koshi, unbelievable. Unbelievable. You hear he's from Adelaide, the first thing you ask about is Koshi. That's just unreal, mate. Charlie, let's first off ask with, obviously, how you're going in this situation. We're all in a bit of a difficult situation right now where, we're at home, we can't go out, we can't do all our normal stuff, we can't, obviously, play footy for you. How are you feeling in this time, mate?
Yeah, no, it's a bit of uncertainty at the moment, but no, I'm going all right. I mean, I think I've been self-isolating for a number of years now before this, but I've got plenty of hobbies and all that sort of stuff. I'm sort of only to and from the house and the shed that I sort of rented for all my carts. So, and I'm currently parting out a cart at the moment to try and fund another build. So that's kept me really busy and dealing with people on Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace. Awesome.
Oh, that sounds dodgy, mate.
Yeah, that's Gumtree's. Gumtree's always an interesting one. Even if they don't want what you got, they still message you. They still message you.
Yeah, exactly. They tell me a whole story of what they're doing, and then then I'll be like, all right, do you want it, mate? Oh, no, I don't want it.
No, I just wanted to chat, mate. I'm in isolation. I just kind of want a friend to talk to.
$50 needs to go right now.
Now, Charlie, you've obviously got your YouTube channel. Is that kind of what you've been pumping along with as well?
Yeah, pretty much. So I've just been trying to smash out as many videos as I can, maybe one a week if I can. But yeah, other than that, mate, I train sort of at home and then run around the oval. Just here at Unley Oval and trying to do as much as I can to keep fit and keep my ball skills up and keep myself busy because times like this it gets a bit crazy if you don't keep busy or if you're stuck inside the house. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, you start to go mad. You start to go mad, and obviously when you're a professional sport player like yourself, a professional AFL player, you've still got to keep yourself in check. You've still got to keep yourself active and fit for when the season, does come back, whenever it does come back, because it will come back, whether it be next year or the end of the year or, in 2 months' time, it will come back. So the point of the matter is that, you've still got to kind of find a way to train and keep yourself fit.
Yeah, exactly. And like we can train with sort of one other person. There's sort of clubs sort of trying to get on the front foot with that and not have too many of the boys training together. And so train with one of the other lads if we're going to have a kick or something like that. But mainly, just sort of trying to keep fit, and I suppose keep the headspace good about that we are going to come back, and then make sure that we're in good fitness. But so when we do come back, which could be in the next couple of months, or as you said, like next year. But the main thing is basically to get on top of this.
Have the has the strength and conditioning team and the kind of sports science department given you a plan, or is it kind of just go as you feel?
No, they give us a full plan. Basically, give us a full spreadsheet of what we should do. Gym every day, sort of mainly every second day or every day sort of thing. I try to do something every day. But yeah, it's basically run every second day, or I'll have like a week where I'll run every second day, and then the next week I'll have run on a Monday, and then Wednesday when I'm supposed to run again, I'll have like an off leg sort of like bike or like a little gym circuit that I'll just do here at home. But no, we've still got a pretty strict regime that we got to do, and we just tick away at that. But I like to sort of tinker with things and do the things that I like to do, and sometimes it's just like, no, won't worry about that.
Well,
Is there a bit you have to tick it off? Do you have to tick it off like you did 5 laps and you're like, yeah, brother?
They don't see like what we do, but like it's all in good faith and all that sort of stuff. I don't. Some things I don't like doing doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. I'll just do something else.
Is it more like if you're not doing it, you're letting the team down kind of mentality?
Pretty much, guilt. Like everyone else is doing it, everyone else is saying. But that's the thing. Like you want to stay fit, and we could back in the month or next month. You don't want to like get to those sort of games and have lost all that preseason that you just done.
Yeah.
Try and limit. Like I'm down to sort of probably a meal and a half a day, and then sort of a few snacks here and there, just so I don't pack on the weight. Because
dude, I've been doing the same exact thing. I feel like everyone keeps talking about how much they're eating, but I'm like, I feel like I'm eating less because I don't want to get to that stage.
I know my Uber Eats driver more than I know my own family at the moment. So yeah, he just drops it off. See you later. But do you guys need any motivation at all to keep fit? Is there some people that are kind of quote unquote lazy when it comes to the fitness aspect, but they excel in the skills, but and then there's some people that are the fitness freak kind of in the squad?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's all of them. Like, I mean, I'm definitely one of the lazy ones that doesn't like the fitness side of it.
Yeah.
Like going and running, that takes, and to do the full program, it's something I find really challenging. But I mean, it's just, it's my job. And you get to a point where in my age where it's just like, if you don't do it, it's noticeable in the way you train and the way you play. So, and blokes will work that out. Young blokes, coming in, they've got to work that out, and that's what they will work out. Yeah, there's definitely like all your different kinds of blokes who don't need that sort of touch. Like Robbie Gray, he's just one of the best
unbelievable.
Touch players ever. Yeah, but like he's worked enormously on his fitness this year, and it's a bit of a shame that he hasn't been able to showcase that. Like his fitness has gone through the roof. He's at the front of the running packs and everything like that, where normally he'd sort of like have a real light pre-season because his body wasn't right, and he would normally just come out and dominate training without sort of touching a footy in like a couple of months, and then come out in the pracky match and kick 4 and have 25. So that's just like some blokes are like that. They're just football freaks, and then there are your fitness blokes who can just run all day.
Sorry to cut you off. Do you feel like adherence with Robbie, that he doesn't really need to be? He will adhere to the training no matter what. He has like that intrinsic motivation to be a very good footballer and be fit, while some people, they need a push, maybe the younger players or something like that.
Yeah, basically. I mean, you've got, and because he's been doing it for 13, 14 years now or something like that.
Yeah,
so
it's a long time.
It's a long time in the game, and you sort of you end up working out how your body works and what you can and can't do, and what what your body responds to, and how you respond to training and all that sort of stuff. So it's just time, and like these blokes are working out how their body works and in the gym and all that sort of stuff. I mean, these are young kids who have come out and just like doing bugger all, get thrown into a full weights program, which is monitored very much, considering even more when I sort of started playing, like we just throw you in the gym and like you put muscle on, put weight on. But now it's sort of like it's real gradual, and the blokes who need to put weight on, it'll be more diet than it will be sort of lifted big weights and all that sort of stuff. It'll just be like staggered.
Yeah, Charlie, I want to ask you. You were speaking about like all this progress that players have obviously made throughout the off season, and the fact is we're not going to be able to see that. I did notice a couple of weeks ago that you were in an article where you were somewhat, because obviously you've had a difficult time with injuries, you've found that this preseason has been fantastic for you. You found this preseason as being one of your best, and you're not able to come back, and especially amid, uncertainty of, a future contract. What is that? Is that the main thing that is like the uncertain part about the AFL right now? Is that all these players have shown so much in preseason, like yourself, you're feeling fantastic, and now you kind of are feeling a little bit worried about your future?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big one. I mean, blokes, we put in close to 6 months worth of work, and still putting in work with, we played, including the preseason games, 3 games, including our practice match. We played 3 games. We've done a lot of training, and yeah, like you said, I'm out of contract at the end of this year. So it's very worrying, and it's makes you sort of, I suppose, uneasy. And like you said, I've had a lot of I've had a lot of injuries and starting to come back, and I'm starting to feel really good. But I obviously can't do anything about it. So I'm doing everything I can to stay fit, like I've said, and just so when I can, I can hit the ground running and perform to the way I know I can.
You said before that you and one player are allowed to go and train, and obviously with everything going on, it's very hard to find contact with other people. With regards to officials, both your training, Luke asked about it, but I want to know, how are you going about things like video analysis? Are you doing those by FaceTime? Are you doing them by yourself? The normal things you would do as a team, how are you getting through those every week?
Yeah, so we do Zoom meetings. So when was it, last Wednesday we had a forward Zoom meeting, and then tomorrow night we're going to have a meeting again with the whole group, which will be good. Tom Jonas, captain's, he's organising that, so that'll be good. Bit of a laugh, catch up with the lads.
I was going to say, there's going to be a laugh there. Yeah.
Do you get any rival teams crashing your Zoom meeting? I'd get someone on that, find out their Zoom code, mate.
No, I haven't had any too many. I have mine Hamish from Hamish and Andy popping in. That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, that'd be funny, yeah.
What he's been doing.
Actually do.
But, yeah, sort of the way we've been communicating, and I caught up with our head of science in Macca's, and he did some change of direction because I sort of hurt my groin, so I missed round 1. So he did some filming and stuff like that of just my change of direction, and then basically laid that to everyone else, all the physios and coaches and all that sort of stuff, so that I'm sort of ticking along pretty close to 100%.
I wanted to ask Charlie his opinion in regard to this. So you think about the NRL date that they say May 28th. We'll go back on that for a second. Now, players reacting to that, going live via Instagram or putting up a post, it seemed like the first time that they were hearing about. So I want to ask you, if the AFL tomorrow was to come out without telling players and saying June 12th is our start-up date, would you as a player physically believe that is going to happen and start training in that mindset? Or would you still have that doubt in the back of your mind and continue with the way you're going?
Yeah, so that's a hard one. That's, we've got to rely on our club to be able to tell us exactly what we're doing. The AFL can come out and say that sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, if our club doesn't come to us and say, oh yeah, this is what's happening, this is the club, this is what the AFL have called, then we'll just continue to do what we're doing. But if they're saying, if it's all true and everything like that, we'll go ahead with it. But at the end of the day, is if one of the players gets it, then it shuts down again. And
exactly.
So there's no point in rushing back and trying to throw, just throw it into chaos. Basically, everyone just sort of start playing because I don't know, the AFL or NRL or that need the money. There's no point because you'll get a couple of weeks, and then if a player tests positive, and then you shut down for exactly. It's over for the rest of the year. So you're better off waiting, and that's what everyone's better off waiting and making sure that curve drop right off. There's no point in just opening the floodgates. You just got to wait it out, and they said we're going to be in this for the next 6 months, but you never know. You hope it's less.
The thing I want to say in regards to that is that, obviously, my channel is BKRsport. I'm obsessed with sport. I love my sport. Every weekend I think about sport. That's all I do. That's my life. However, in the same sense, people are forgetting that the players are human as well. And people do always forget the players are human as well, just like us, right? So I feel like people don't understand that by throwing these players out there, and yes, it's great for us, you know, I get to watch my AFL content, I get to watch my footy again, but you guys go out there and you guys are putting your bodies on the line. So the point of the matter is that I feel like people need to really stop rushing this because they're just thinking more on themselves and not as, you know, the players being humans who can also get this by being in close proximity to each other.
Exactly right, and that's, you know, like, and that's sort of why, like, they're still talking, like, we'll probably only play, if we do play this year, it'll be in front of no crowds.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and that's the way it's probably going to be for this year. And there was even talk about, you know, like the round robin or something like that. We go up, we all go somewhere and just like an AFL hub or something. I don't know.
AFL
I try not to.
Hopefully Cairns, mate? Hopefully Cairns,
Hey, I'd love that. I'd just stay up there and have a nice time. See the family. Haven't seen them in a while, so it'd be nice.
Now, Charlie, I want to move on to a lot more lighter times. I want to move on to more of your career because, you know, too much of that. There's too much negative shit going on. Let's talk about some positive shit. Obviously, you know, you're from Cairns. We just said that. You're originally from Cairns. What I want to know is, you know, you're obviously from Queensland, the heartland of rugby league, you know, the blood and soul of rugby league. Anyone from New South Wales who says otherwise, buddy, you can stop talking. The home of the bloody rugby league. How did you get into AFL over NRL, obviously?
Yeah, well, I really wanted to play as a kid. Parents, for some reason, didn't let me. And then I just didn't worry about it and started playing basketball. And my first love was basketball. Loved it.
Pretty bloody tall, mate.
Well, be a professional basketball player. And then I sort of started playing footy about when I was 14, 15, and really having a crack at it when I was around 14, 15. And basically that took me to Brisbane with my brother, and then got picked up by the Gold Coast after that. So I always wanted to play league, but I just didn't quite get there.
At any point before coming to the AFL, did you feel like it was a disadvantage that you were playing at what age was it? Sorry, 14, 15?
14, 15.
14, 15, something
14,
like that.
15. Did you feel like starting up at that age rather than having your whole life playing that one sport that you had a disadvantage, or did you feel complete belief in yourself and you could prove everyone wrong?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think I really thought about it. I thought I was... I always thought I was good enough to, you know, be out there, and it didn't really, you know, worry about who I was playing. I was just a tall, skinny kid, and just sort of run around and chasing the footy, really. And that's what I loved about football back then, is that I used to play Wednesday nights with under 18s, Friday nights, under 18s was Wednesday nights, under 16s was Friday nights, and then seniors was on Saturday. And I just love it because I'd just go out there and chase footy around and play footy, which is all different now. You got to zones and setups and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the way sort of I used to play. But I never really thought that I was at a disadvantage because, you know, I hadn't played for that long and sort of played long enough by the time I started playing and picked the rules up as I was going. I think basketball, and I played soccer as a young kid as well. So I think those sort of sports like helped me in the game enormously.
Yeah, you're definitely a late bloomer when it comes to professional sport, because there's two different theories in kind of sports science with talent identification, where you got your typical Cristiano Ronaldo type that has played one sport since they were could walk, and then you have your type that has a multitude of sports. You know, might have done, you know, you got soccer, you got rugby league, you got basketball, you know, you could have done maybe martial arts, people do like tennis or something as well, and they put all of these together and that kind of correlates with each other, and then they pick a sport that they're best suited to out of that. And you said, you know, your height and your frame, that basketball was really suited to you, but it also applies to AFL as well. So I feel like all of those kind of culminated into being a good AFL spec, because the Suns obviously picked you because they looked at you and went, he has all these skills, but he has definitely the physical presence to play in the AFL.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at some of the best players in the comp these days, and that's, you know, Pendlebury and Robbie Gray and Chad Wingard. Those guys are all phenomenal basketball players. So, I mean, blokes who have got, you know, other sports other than just football that have been bred into them, like all the Victorians, I suppose, and Adelaideans. But yeah, I just think it's, that's what people ask me, like, when you go to schools and stuff like that. What does my kid need to do to become an AFL player? You know,
Be
it's
a
just
good
like,
basketball player.
I say to them, like, oh, don't play footy. Just go out and play any sport they want to play. You know, cricket, basketball, soccer, rugby, anything. Like, I mean, at a young age, they're going to have the talent. They're going to have the talent. You know, they don't need to be doing weights or, you know, running laps of ovals as kids. You know, like, you pick that stuff as you develop. But parents are pretty crazy these days, and they want their kids to be, you know, the Chris Judds of the AFL, and they think they can train it into them. But it's just got to be. I think it's going to be a bit of a natural thing, and I think playing as many sports as you can and adding a few strings to your bow, that's all you can do.
Well, I guess it is about the fact of just getting out there and playing sport and having that sporting mentality. You know, it is a sporting mentality, and getting that in as young as possible is great. But yeah, it's just about that sporting mentality that separates the difference. It's not even necessarily something that can be... it's not necessarily something that can be really trained into you, really. I feel like it's something that you already have, and then you just enhance it through no matter what sport you have, and then you can just apply it to the sport that you end up choosing, like yourself, you know?
Yeah, well, that's it. And, like, I put it down to my brother, you know, like, him, like, I'm a competitor, and that's sort of the way I've always played my sport, is that I'm just a fierce competitor, and don't really like losing, even though, like, probably my win-loss record's probably a little bit more loss.
We won't get too much on the Suns there, mate.
Well, you can talk for the Titans.
Hey, I'm from the Gold Coast. I'll take it. I'll lap it up for you, all right? Listen, here we go.
Sport ain't their thing up there, is it?
Oh, here we go. Go on, Charlie. I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
It's all
right. It's a Gold Coast
no, I just think that Clive Palmer ate him.
You didn't vote for Clive Palmer, did you?
I was not expecting that one. I'll tell you that right now. I was not expecting that one.
You know, like my brother, he was always bigger and taller and stronger than me. So, yeah, and we used to, you know, battle it out at, you know, riding bikes, playing basketball in the backyard, doing anything, kicking the footy. We'd always want to be, you know, better each other, and he would always kick my ass and everything. So, and that's water skiing, anything, you know, like if he could do it, I wanted to do it. I want to be as good as him, and I'd sort of put down my sort of career and competitiveness to him, and he sort of blazed a trail for me in basketball in Brisbane as well, and set up the house and everything. All I had to do was go in there, and I lived there for, you know, 8 months, and then got picked up by the Gold Coast and got shipped out. You know, so, you know, I got you know, big part of my career is sort of owed to him.
Was that difficult for you? Was that difficult for you making the move to the Gold Coast?
A difficult move was moving to probably Brisbane. I was a 17-year-old kid. You know, just straight out of school, and moved down apprenticeship, and I moved down to Brisbane and like did a bit of trying to find a job. I was doing some cabinet making, the football club, the Redland Bay, the Redland Bombers, who I was playing for. They sort of set me up with a few different jobs, and then I got a job with this mob out near Ipswich, which was like close to an hour away, starting at 6. And so I'd be leaving at like 4 o'clock sort of thing to get out there, or leaving around 4:30 to get out there, and so I could start work, and then they'd have a half-hour break, and then finish at 5. So half-hour break about 10, and then finish at 5. So I was doing that for a little bit, and yeah, I was homesick. I was missing my parents, missing my friends. You know, like all my mates were having their 18th birthday parties, and I'd go to work in the morning, go to football training, come home. And then, just go have dinner and go to sleep. And I mean, I suppose like everyone else is doing, like at work and all that sort of stuff. I trained 5 days a week with the Queensland football, like when I got interstate as well. So training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, pretty much. And then, and then working every day, I suppose. And I hated it. There was a sort of time where I was like, oh, I can't do this. I'm going to go home. And we lived in a house where there was my brother, his girlfriend, now wife, and 2 other football boys. And it was a big-ish house, but it wasn't big enough. But I was 17. They were all obviously over 18. So I just became the taxi. I would drive them around, pick them up at all hours of the night, and bring them home. And I didn't mind that because it sort of felt I was able to go out and sort of pick them up and like have a laugh at them while they were coming home pissed. But other than that, mate, that was probably the hardest part for me. And then once I got to the Gold Coast, and I was, you know, like I I had a full-time program with the football club, and I was getting paid to play football. So I was very fortunate when I got into there, and I had a very good family take care of me. The Dwyers, who have both girls in two girls in wheelchairs with a rare disease called Friedreich's ataxia, and they took me in like it was nothing, like I'm forever grateful for them as well.
Yeah, that's a fantastic story, Charlie. And especially in regards to what you were saying before, how parents always ask you for their kids on how to become successful, and I'd say right there that you've answered it. Really, you sacrificed the fun times. You said you weren't even you weren't enjoying at one stage, and you thought about giving up, but you didn't give up. And I think that's the main thing to take out of all that, is that you sacrificed, and now you're living the rewards of that sacrifice. And I think that's the main thing that parents need to realise about. It's not specifically in regards to gym. It's not specifically in regards to this. It's specifically in regards to what you've just said, and that sacrifice, and you'll get the reward later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I suppose there's always going to be tough times ahead, but as long as you can do what you can do. That's funny. No. You can, it's not going to last forever, and as long as you keep putting in the work, it's going to pay off.
An intruder there. Sorry.
No, that's what happens. That's what happens when you're stuck at home, mate. That's what happens when we have to do this podcast from home.
What I wanted to ask is that you did sacrifice a lot. There's all these people. Because I know a lot of guys, especially in rugby league, they all have these share houses and they have to stay with families and they have to work. Everyone thinks you play club footy, you're in a rep team, you get paid $500,000 a year, doesn't it? There's this massive intermediate phase where you have to stay with people, you've got another job to earn money, and then you've got to train, and they're barely paying you there. And then once you get that first big contract is then when you're kind of settled. What I wanted to ask you was, do you feel like with your brother and you had that competitive instinct, do you feel like parents try and drill that out of their kids now? That's seen as bad, like that kind of almost arrogance or assertiveness that you need to be an athlete. Like, how many athletes do you know that say to themselves, "Oh, I'm not the best. No, I'm okay." They always, "I'm the best. I want to be the best. I'm better than him or
participation
her.
award."
Just they want to be the best in general, not the best they can be, but better than other people. Do you feel like that's required to be an athlete in a way? Even some humble athletes have that instilled in them, but just don't show that?
Yeah, I think it's yes and no, I suppose. I mean, I think there's so much different answers for this, like with, like you said, the participation award. I think that's absolute garbage. Yeah. Everyone gets.
I hate it. I hate it. It's
ridiculous. It's just like embarrassing in a way. Yeah.
Well, that takes the competitiveness out of it, and I think, and that's just like people got to learn that it's not all rainbows and butterflies as much as you'd like it to be.
Hockey, yeah.
But I definitely think I reckon as a kid I would always say I would always think to myself, it's like, oh, I'm better than that kid. I was like, why aren't I playing? Or I'm better than that. You're always telling yourself like that. I think that's just what you believe. And if you believe that, I think it's going to show out in the field and that. But don't go around telling them I'm bloody better than you. What are you doing?
You back it up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You try not to, and with being Australian and the tall poppy syndrome, you can't say that you're good.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that one. Yeah, exactly.
Kyrgios syndrome. I feel like that happens with Nick Kyrgios a lot. He's just a really good example. Obviously he's really good, but if he goes out and say, "Yeah, I'm better than him," everyone goes, "Oh, arrogance. That's arrogance."
That's why people don't like Kyrgios, mate. Kyrgios has got a lot of confidence.
You got to have some arrogance, I feel like, to be the best. You got to even Federer would have in tennis that arrogance. I'm going to beat him kind of thing.
Yeah,
but I feel like it's not valued enough in today.
No, well, you look at the American NBA, NFL. They're always telling people that they're better than the next bloke that they're lining up against. He can't beat me. Who's that? Who's that? So that's accepted over there. So. I mean, that's just the way it is. And like, we're in a different country, obviously, and that's just the way we are.
In regards to encouragement and advice from others, whether it be teammates or whether it be people who just see you playing sport on weekends, for example, I don't know if you do that, but let's use that as an example, put that aside. How do you, and you've mentioned that you will tell someone that they're physically not the best compared to the NBA, obviously you'll encourage this. So I want to know, in regards to advice and encouragement, what are you doing as someone who is a star AFL player and helping someone who is aspiring to be like you?
Encouragement. I mean, everyone takes encouragement or feedback, I suppose, in a different way, and everyone gives it in a different way. I mean, I've had to really work on that myself with the way, because I'm an emotional competitor, and like it sort of pours out of me in the game. And
we see that after every goal you kick, mate. We see you go crazy, mate.
But yeah, that's the thing, and like I can lose my shit at certain things as well, and sort of, not mean anything that I say, but like just be so frustrated and so in the moment, you blurt out a whole lot of just gibberish and bullshit that, people will take offense to it, because it's just absolutely in the moment and an emotional outburst, I suppose. So I've done a lot of just thinking, and whenever I'm either try and take a minute, take a couple of breaths, and then try and give that what I'm feeling, try to put it into proper words and not swearing my head off or yelling at someone or an umpire or something like that, and try and just ask the question and or pull someone up on something that I think that they shouldn't have done, or what players you can yell at, and that you can yell at and give them a spray, and then they'll turn around and be like, yeah. And all there's other blokes who turn around, you could be standing there and just having an absolute argument with, if you don't say it the right way, So there's always certain ways. For encouragement, I think it's just literally helping someone, Like I don't think, I'm not huge on it, like with my words and encouraging people like that. I'd rather go and show someone sort of how to do it or what I do.
So more like you'd more like want to be an idol in that word. Like, I'm not saying you want to be that, like but it's just to explain it in that regards, like for someone to idolize how you play and emulate in that regard.
A little bit, but like I think it's more like for that person to find their own sort of way of doing things, where like, because everyone's different, and like I've had a lot of trouble since getting to Port Adelaide with my goal kicking, and like previously I was I was very accurate and that, but like more pressure, more people and all that sort of stuff is sort of like, and that's the sort of thing that I've sort of struggled with. But like I had to go back and watch YouTube clips of me playing for the Gold Coast just to see how I was kicking the footy, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's right, and then just try and work back into that sort of confidence, and you start hearing that outside noise about people telling you can't kick, you can't do this and all that sort of stuff, and you're like, oh man, shit, maybe I can't do it. I'm like, but I always say to people who are sort of learning, or young blokes who are learning to sort of kick, goal, set shots and all that sort of stuff, and just say like, do what's right for you, what feels good for you. Like I do this, but you don't do what I do. Just find something that's comfortable for you and where you can kick the ball and have a routine. And then if you find out that it works for you, start critiquing it as you sort of like get into it, and then you lock something down, and then you sort of get into that routine where you sort of repetition. But I don't try to force my game style or my way I kick or anything on anyone else. It's just try and be helpful, I suppose, if you got anything out of that gibberish.
Am I right in saying that it's more of actions mean more than words? That's a saying that's thrown around, and I think of that as the way you've explained it. You would prefer not to sit there and speak to someone physically, hey, you're doing this wrong. You would prefer them to watch you, whether it be on the field or watch you physically, and for them to learn that way, because they may be different to you. As you're saying, everyone has their own unique style in sport, and that's something that you get out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can help someone along the way with the way they want to play, it's not saying no, the way you're playing is wrong. It's just sort of moving them in a direction where they can get better instead of just sort of like smashing people down. I suppose it's a different time now. Like it's gone out the window with coaches screaming their heads off at players and stuff like that.
Do you believe in constructive criticism?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I think there's still a part in the game of intimidation and having a presence and like expecting a certain standard. I think it's something as well. Like I'll get a bake from TJ easy, and it's just something that you just sort of just something that you just got to get on with. And that's and like sometimes I'd rather that than someone come up to me and like talking to me about something that happened 15 minutes ago at the start of the quarter than at quarter time. Like I'd rather just someone go, that wasn't effing good enough or something like that, and then be like, yeah, I understand it, yeah, and then that's it.
Charlie, you briefly mentioned just a little bit before about how the fans weigh in, and obviously how you hear them and you kind of start to think about your own game and wonder, how it affects you and like, can I actually kick? In regards to like haters and stuff, how do you take it? Do you listen to it somewhat as constructive criticism, or is it more of a thing that you're trying to ignore?
That's funny, constructive criticism from fans.
No, if a particular AFL show says something, are you watching? Yeah. Are you listening? Are you going, oh, he's right?
Nah. Oh, like those shows, they're all pretty. I mean, end of the day, they're just doing their job, and they've got to have content, So, I don't watch a lot of football to start with, or any of those football shows. If I do watch anything, it's because my old man sent it to me, or my grandmother, or my aunties, or something like that, or my brother. But or I get tagged in it on Instagram. But other than that, I mean, the feedback you get from people, Facebook, I mean, which is something I struggled with a lot in my first couple of years here, was just because, I mean, the fan base down here is huge, and you're in the public eye more, and like there's no real escape from it down here. And we're up on the Gold Coast, so, no one knew who we were, and we could do whatever we want. I could sit at a pub on a Sunday afternoon, have a couple of beers, and have no dramas, and like there'd be no dramas with that, and there should be no dramas with that. But you come down here and sit at a pub, even the club will get 10 emails about at a pub before training, So it's but that's something I struggle with. That like I couldn't just sort of like live my life, like sort of just do what I wanted to do, like how I was on the Gold Coast. But I mean, it it has its positives and negatives as well. But I love Adelaide now, and it's something that it takes a bit to get used to. But it's a part of the job description now.
What was the biggest difference between your move from the Gold Coast to Port Adelaide? And I'm also talking about in regards to the actual playing of the game and in regards to, the teams themselves. What were the biggest differences that you found between the Gold Coast Suns when you joined and the Port Adelaide Power?
Well, to be honest, I mean, at the Gold Coast, like we were training out of sheds and demountables. Wow. Yeah, so that, I mean, to come down here, we have full facilities and training oval, like right where we train. So where we used to have a walk like a few K just to get to our training oval. So, and then our gym was in while they were building the main Metricon stadium. And then before that, he even made us a training oval. We'd be out the back of the soccer ovals that sort of went like this. So, and
they get really wet and soaked and everything too. Yeah, man.
Absolutely. And so we had a fair few blokes go down with ankles and that, me especially. But our training oval, once they put it in, we were straight on it. And then it rained for like non-stop 2 weeks. And then there was probably about that much water on top of the ground for like 2 weeks. And because it just didn't drain properly. And like it was just sickening how hot and sticky and wet everyone was. Like the humidity. That's just the way it was. And like everyone just sort of went on with it because we didn't know any better, other than the blokes who came from other clubs with actual facilities. Like I that's what I grew up with. Like we had a big tin shed.
Sorry to interrupt you, but how did Gary Ablett deal with that one?
I don't know. I think he's all right. I didn't hear too much about it, but I think everyone just got along with it. I mean, we had it like our big tin shed. we had all the equipment we needed. It was, it was good. It was hot as buggery, but we didn't know any better. So we just sort of cruised along with it. But I just think, down and then moved to Port, and we had all indoor area and all these not good facilities and nice training track, and not that it wasn't nice up there. The training tracks weren't nice up there, but so it was just totally different. Like in the staff, there was just more coaches around. Sometimes I felt like there were more coaches than players, and I think that was the biggest difference for me.
Is there more AFL mad down in Adelaide for sure?
Oh, way more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, it's a religion down here, and it's something that takes a lot to get used to, is that people, this is their life, that's why it's so sad now, is people will, love it so much down here, and the fact that we, there's no football. And because even the state leagues and the country leagues around here, the sample, the amount of people that rock up to the sample. I remember my first going to watch one of the first Maggie's games, and I'm like, there's 5,000 people here. I said, this is awesome. Yeah. And boys get you get to play in front of 4,000 people sometimes, 5,000 people, and that's just, and people love football. People just show us. I can hear the Oval that's maybe a kilometre away from my house. When Sturt play there, you hear them from mine when everyone kicks a goal. So it's, the football community's hurting, I suppose, all over.
100%. And in regards to that, I want to ask you about the showdown. That would obviously be pretty hectic playing a part of, Port Adelaide versus Adelaide Crows, for people who aren't aware. And on that, I believe that rivalry has a 24-23 win ratio. So it's these two teams are in the same city, they're massive rivals, and it's 24-23 in regards to wins. How does it feel playing as a part of such a massive game like that?
Yeah, that's awesome. Those games are unreal. I mean, even the build-up during the week, then, there's people yelling at you from the streets, and there's, it's,
oh,
it's
you
just,
dog!
Pretty much, the papers, everything.
Oh, yeah, Charlie!
They love it. It's unreal, and the build-up's awesome, and you just feel the tension in the air, even at training and walking around the streets. It's just the city comes alive, and everyone just loves to hate you. So that's part of the thing that you build on. And then you go out on the field and everyone's spitting venom. They're just filthy, and they just want to win so bad. And to be a part of some really close wins and losses, it's heartbreaking and amazing at the same time, but like you said, it's always a fiery game.
What's better, kicking a goal in front of the home fans or in front of the away fans?
That's a great question. That is a phenomenal question.
Like a big celebration with the home fans, or a sneaky finger up to the fans?
Oh no, I think it's the noise with our home fans is pretty crazy, but to get a good goal to put your team in front of the Crows fans would be pretty good, I reckon. I don't even know if I've done it, but yeah,
there's plenty of time for you to do it, mate. Plenty of time for you to come back and do it as well.
You get fired up to play against your old club. I'm not one. I try and sit back and not talk smack, but the Gold Coast Suns have been struggling for a while. So, do you get in this mindset of against my old club getting filthy, like I know other players do, or are you in this mindset of yes, we've got an easy win this week?
Ooh, I wasn't expecting that last part.
No games are easy, Hayden.
No, exactly. There's no real hatred or anything like that towards the club, or I just want to do what I can for the team, and there's no easy, there literally is no easy wins. I mean, it's all depends on the start, and the way you go from there. So it's I've only played the Gold Coast twice in the 5 years I've been away from it. So I haven't played at Metricon Stadium since leaving that. So I was really excited to go back up there and play. But
that's so unlucky, man. That's so unlucky in regards to this year, man. It's so unlucky. But Charlie, I want to ask you, what was your favourite moment so far as an AFL player, whether it be at Port or whether it be at the Gold Coast? What was the favourite moment on the field that you've been a part of that was so far in your career that sums up the feeling you get while playing the game?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose kicking your first goals are always good as well.
Which was also the first ever goal for the Gold Coast Suns.
still haven't done much after that. No, I think the Carmichael game winner, that was a good game.
Yeah, in front of the home crowd, Cairns as well.
Home crowd, Cairns, yeah, that was really good. And I think also Stephen Motlop kicking the winning goal in the showdown. I forget what number it was, 2018.
Yeah, I think that was 2 years ago. Yeah,
before I broke my leg, it was awesome. That game was unreal. Had everything.
You gotta love the Motlop as well. Gotta love Motlop. He's obviously an ex-catter. Get around the catters there as well. So I can see Luke making a face there, but you got to get around old Stevie Motlop. In regards to that, who's your favourite player that you've played with?
Favourite player, I'd have to say, Gaz was unbelievable to watch.
Unbelievable.
He's a phenomenal player, but Harley Bennell's would be up there.
Yeah.
He's just one of the silkiest players I've ever seen. It's just been unfortunate with what he's got going on. But then also Robbie Gray. He's to watch. I mean, come across a clip the other day of that 2018 him kicking 5 goals in a quarter against the Crows, and it was just like sitting there going. I remember just going, I was standing in the goal square going, watch Robbie at this contest. He's getting the ball, he's going to kick a goal. And then Paddy gave it to him on a silver platter, he kicked a goal. It was just no one could stop him in that quarter. He's one of those players that once in a lifetime, can turn a game like that. And I'd say actually he'd have to be my most favourite player.
I really enjoy that you have such a big backing for someone on your team. I understand you could easily say to Gary Ablett, he's a fantastic player. We all know he's unbelievable. He's one of the greatest of all time. However, I'm really glad that you didn't specifically say Gary, because we all know about Gary. I'm really glad you've said someone who's somewhat underrated, I feel. I feel like Robbie Gray really doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. And I'm really glad that you said his name, because he honestly, he's a special kind of player, and he's really elusive.
Oh, absolutely. He's some of the stuff he does on the footy field is crazy, and someone who's just been battling with his body for the last 3 years and still be able to churn out what he's been churning out is ridiculous. So, and that's why I'm so flat that he's so fit this year, and I like every other fan, can't see Robbie Gray go out there at the moment.
Robbie Gray, Travis Boak, Charlie Dixon, Ollie. I'm backing you for a premiership in the next 5 years.
Hey, big call, but.
Oh, hopefully. Well, that'd be nice.
Said the same about Parramatta.
Oh, gee whiz. Oh, no. Gee whiz. All right, before we start getting down that kind of discussion, Charlie, I was gonna ask you, you were saying basically that Gray's had his difficulties. You've also had your difficulties. What is the toughest moment that you face? Obviously, you've overcome it, but what is the toughest moment you face in which you needed to overcome?
Oh, yeah, obviously would be probably my 2018, 2019 seasons. Obviously breaking my leg, but before that I wasn't probably, my body was sort of letting me down before I broke the leg, and I was sort of getting local injections in my left knee just to get through games. I couldn't run through the week, so I'd barely be able to get much training in, let alone gym, and just felt weak out there on the football field, to be honest. And then basically my body let me down and said no more, and landed very awkwardly and obviously broke my leg. And coming back from that, and the mental side of that was probably more tougher than any physical side of anything that I've sort of had to deal with. Because they sort of messed up the first sort of surgery where they didn't go in and check in the back, and they missed a lot of cartilage that was sort of it was like a flap sort of overhanging where sort of when my foot twisted around, it tore all the cartilage in there, and that'd just flap over, and I'd be running and I'd be flying for about 1 to 2 days, and I started to feel good, and then I'd wake up sort of the next day or a couple of days later, and I could barely walk. And I had no idea, and it felt like I was running around walking around with a big rock in my shoe, shooting pain up my leg. So, and I was scanning it, jabbing it, and then they're going, your leg's fine. You should be doing. Where I was just like, I can't do anything else. I'm done. Like, I was just like, this is the way I'm going to be. This is me done. And I fought a lot, and I fought with that for a lot, and And then basically I had a second surgery in March, and sort of got they had about 4 or 5 surgeons in there, I think, and they were all sort of sitting around, and they made about six incisions this time instead of like 3 in my ankle, and yeah, went through it and found out what the deal was, and yeah, so then there was a sort of bit of a slow road back again from there, but once I sort of got going, I was all right. And then because we were playing footy, I had about 4 weeks of actual football training, and then got thrown into sort of games. So
Yeah.
I wanted to play and wanted to try and do everything I could, but just my touch and my confidence wasn't there at all. And
what does your training look like when you've got those issues? Like, obviously, you still have to kind of somewhat keep fit, but you obviously are really struggling to be able to do the same things you'd be able to. How does your training look when it comes to those kind of injuries? There's a lot of pool work. There's a lot of like resistance bands and stuff like that.
I said to him, please don't put me in the pool. It's too much time between my own ears. So I just struggled like being like without having music or anything like that. I struggled being basically alone, you know. So and like with my own thoughts. So they kept me on bikes and sort of in the gym and sort of stuff like that. And I stayed straight line running. Yeah, it was you know, like people who have had long-term injuries and knee recos after knee recos. You know, like mine was sort of about 18 months or something like that, if that. And but blokes have done it one after another is, you know, like I don't know how they sort of keep showing up, you know. And it can be quite a lonely place in rehab, especially when, you know, you got a full tidy list and you seem to be the only bloke in there, and you sort of try and you basically end up battling yourself more than you do the sort of injury, to be honest. I don't think people realise as much as, I suppose the public don't realise as much as that it's more of a game between the ears than it is out in the football field, you know. So, and people are always got something that's going on and behind the scenes, and not many people know, you know, like, and I suppose in the football world, it's starting to come out more now that it's okay to sort of come out and ask for help, and, you know, like, and it's something that sort of I didn't really do, and as a sort of, I thought I had to be, you know, like a bit of a barometer for the boys, and that I'm a man sort of thing, and need to be, you know, hold some sort of hold me shit together, where literally I was falling apart from the inside out, and basically, yeah, just a very unhappy person away and from the club, away from the club, and yeah, so it's definitely a time where I look back and I think, thank God that I'm away from it, you know. And
yeah,
I mean, it's I suppose I'm still sort of dealing with certain things and getting through sort of some of the aspects, and like you said, like there's so much uncertainty with, you know, like, will I have a job next year and all that sort of stuff, and there's all those sort of uncertainties that, you know, that sort of, you know, but I'm not in by myself, you know, the whole world's going through that, but it's, you know, there's certain things that, you know, like you got to ask yourself, and that there's always these things that are testing you, and I just try to keep as busy as I can, and not.
Well, that's the thing, man. I back you in, because you know what, you've come back from multiple injuries. Like, you know, you're one of the first people that would say, you know, you've been through your fair share of injuries, and the point of the matter is that you're still cracking on, man. You're still cracking on. You're still giving it you're all your best, and despite the fact that you face a lot of setbacks, you're still here. You've still got a contract. You're still playing for the team, and you're still having a red hot go at it. So you've got to really back yourself in and stop being as much of a harsh critic of yourself as you can, because honestly, I think that you're a fantastic bloke, and I think that you can definitely overcome whatever gets thrown your way.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Well, like, that's the thing. I mean, I've had the time now. Body's feeling good, and I just wish I could play football, mate. And
exactly.
And you know, get that contract that I'm looking for. So. But time will tell, mate. Time will tell.
The question I'm going to ask, but I feel like I'm wording it wrong, is do you feel like after Port Adelaide have given you opportunities now to continue to play? Obviously, you're playing for a contract now, but you've been through injury and stuck with the club for a number of years now, 2-3 years. Now, do you feel like you owe it to them to stay, or do you feel like you can potentially expand with other clubs? I know your heart is with Port Adelaide. That is where you would love to stay. But is it...
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I want to stay here. I want to stay with Port. I mean, I love that they've given me the opportunity that they have. I love the boys. I love Adelaide, and I want to stay here. But I mean, end of the day, we're in a business, and we've got to be able to look out for number one. And I mean, if there are other better opportunities, yeah, possibly I'd look at it. But to be honest, I want to stay here. But I mean, you've always got to look at those sort of things and see what the best option for me at the time is, I suppose. But at the end of the day, I call Adelaide home, and I sort of don't want to leave.
That's that Ken. He wants to stay.
I want to say that's a great response, because usually when you talk to players, and it's obviously from a media perspective, it's always the same response, like, oh yeah, no, I'll always stay with the club, you know, I'll always stick through thick and thin. And although you've said that you want to stay with the club, you want to stick through thick and thin, and they are your first choice that you want to be with, it's also good that you've been truthful in the fact that you've said, you know what, if there is an option that I do need to take, I may actually, you know, take it. But this is my first choice. If Port Adelaide is always there backing me, I'm always going to back them. That's what you've said, and I really appreciate that as a person who you call a fan, because most players wouldn't admit to something like that.
That's the way it is. I mean, you can always give a generic answer, but I've sort of thrown that out the book the last couple of years, because I think you get a better response out of people when they dive into the person they find out who the type of person you are, if you're sort of honest and instead of just the
Full credit to the boys.
Full credit to the boys.
The persona they think they know, like me on a football field. Like, I constantly get people tell me, like, "Oh, you're actually nice." Jacked up, angry human, like walking around. Yeah, sometimes I am, but not all the time.
Now, when I get a coffee, I'm like, yeah, that's like it. That's like unbelievable. No, that's what I kind of said before. People don't understand that the players are human too. You know, you play on the field, you punch on the field sometimes, but you go off and you shake their hand, and then you maybe have a beer. Like, I don't know, you're still mates. And the point of the matter is that, like, these boys, like Charlie, for example, are genuine guys like you are. Just because they're a player on the field that you think is a massive star, and they are a star, but they are also like you. So, like, just before we head off, I want to ask you, what's your ultimate goal outside of the game for the future? You know, you've still got a couple of years left in you, but, you know, what's your goals for after your career finishes up?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I've sort of put my last sort of year on. I've sort of just tried to focus as much as I can on my football, but like with everything going on, you know, you've got to also look outside football, because football's not forever. As much as, you know, you'd like to play and earn the money that you earn playing football, you can't. But you know, like with my YouTube channel, I'm into sort of my cars, obviously, and I'd like to be able to make that into something where I'm sort of talking to a mate who's got a panel shop or one-stop all shop who's got, you know, performance, panel, trimming, all that sort of stuff, and talking about doing some stuff with him, and maybe even sort of going into business with, you know. So it's stuff like that. I'm trying to build a house as well in this sort of crazy time, and a few other things going on. So, I mean, I just got to play it out by day, you know. Like I said, with anything, you know. But I'd love to be able to, you know, do something in the motor industry. I love my cars, in the racing or whatever. I've been talking with the Bend Motorsport here, or at Tail and Bend as well. So even if I can get in and do something simple up there, you know, I'd love to be able to do it. I love the Adelaide Hills. I can see myself living up there, and
beautiful place out there.
Acres or something like that. So I mean, that's my plan. I mean, it's just me and 2 dogs, so I don't really have anyone else to look after, which is good. My own shit together and go from there.
Obviously, all his social media links will be in the description below. Massive thank you to Charlie Dixon for coming along and being our first ever AFL guest on In the Sheds.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks. This is my first sort of podcast, so thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, mate. We really appreciate you, and like I said, like, it really has given the human aspect to the game, and like, you know, people see you as this light, but now they see you in this light, and yeah, I think it's been a really fantastic show, and like I said, thank you for coming on. Also, big thank you to Hayden and Luke for joining the Sheds as per usual.
See you guys next week.
Every single Wednesday, 4 p.m. in the sheds comes to you. I can't let you guys know. I can't let you guys know who we've got on next week. Hit that subscribe button, hit the ding-a-ling-ling notification bell so you're ready. But also on the In the Sheds Instagram page, guys, we've been giving clues every day for who we have next. Main thing is, guys, stay healthy, live healthy, and just keep strong, guys. Keep mentally strong in this time. So really appreciate you as always. That'll do it for today. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.